Good evening, everybody, for another masterclass online hosted by Cinoco. It's the first of this year for me. There was one last week with Milk and Honey Whiskey with Chris, but this is the first one for me, and I'm very excited because it's always fun to do these sessions, and especially these ones where we have like a quite eclectic lineup of different kinds of drinks. And we're going to talk about cocktails, and that's always good because I don't know anything about cocktails. And we have two guests that know everything about them. So what can go wrong? I don't know. I'll introduce these guys to you. First, the one that you all know from previous sessions, Matthias Soberon, served by Soberon from Instagram, cocktail guru, cocktail photography guru from Belgium. So and a general nice guy. So how are you doing, Matthias?
I'm well. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah,
Really, I'm always enjoying these sessions. Always happy to be sitting here and talking about them. Because the fun fact is that it's always a bit nerdy around here, and who doesn't like getting nerdy with spirits, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the nerdiest cocktail you know of?
That's a good one. I think when talking about drinks like one of the first drinks we'll be talking about is a Sazerac. Like, you know, if you really start talking about like history changes in drinks, then you know people are getting nerdy. You know, like started with cognac, going into rye, stuff like that, changing bitters. Like that's the point where you know people are getting geeky, and that's when I really like being.
That's when you start to shine.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So the other guy talking about cocktails and drinks tonight is probably a new face for a lot of you people. With Cinoco since not that long, I think.
2 months
brand
ago.
Ambassador. 2 months ago, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is your first test, I guess, online.
Yay.
Michael Jona Costa, welcome. And how are you doing?
Fine. Thanks for having me. Actually, like you said, it's my first time doing a masterclass online, but the subject was quite easy actually for me to speak. We're gonna talk about cocktails and good spirits. So, what could be wrong? Once again, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first cocktail you fell in love with, Michael?
That's a freaking tricky question. Actually, yeah, I took it back.
Good save there.
That's a really difficult question. To be honest, saying the first cocktail like that would be difficult, but saying like what are my favorite cocktails would be like for the moments. For a long time, my favorite cocktail was like a penicillin, you know, because penicillin works every time. It's a good sour, but with wintry notes, I would say. But you talked about the Sazerac before. I would say that kind of old school cocktail, that kind of geeky and nerdy cocktail, like the Negroni, Boulevardier, Manhattan. Manhattan is always a good thing to drink, and when it's well done, it's perfect. So I would say Manhattan. Yeah, Manhattan cocktail. Yeah.
Right, good choice. Matthias approves. So that's already one of the first tests you've passed, Michael. So let's go straight into it, guys, and pour something in the glasses and start talking about these drinks and start tasting them. The first thing we're going to taste is the brandy, the Heritage Reserve Caffo, the 46-year-old brandy. Yeah, we've had this before in a session, but I'm always happy to taste this again. So there you go.
So, do we start to talk a little bit about the brand?
Yeah, go ahead. Do you wanna start talking about the brandy?
Yeah, actually, the brandy and the brand also, actually, because I think Caffo is quite interesting to know about. So it's a really old school Italian family house. Sorry, coming from the South Calabria, close from the Sicilians and all that part. And it's really interesting because they're doing a lot of stuff actually, and a lot of stuff coming from them that we don't know coming from them. Like for example, Amaro del Capo for people that really like bitters and Italian spirits in general. Also Santa Maria al Monte, which is a liquor brands and bitter brands that we have in the Cinoco portfolio, and another product that we're going to talk about later, the Blood Bitter. So they have lots of crazy products. and also wine and wine spirits, and also grappa and stuff, So there is a lot of stuff to talk about them, but today we're gonna speak about the brandy and the bitters later. And to talk about that product, it's funny because it's a 46-year-old brandy, so wine spirits, but not made in the tradition of a cognac, Armagnac, and that kind of stuff. So it's really different. And to be honest, like I said before, the first time I smelled it, I was quite shocked and surprised because it doesn't smell at all like a wine spirits. No. So I guess we can all smell it together and talk about it later, I guess, yeah?
Sure.
So for me, actually, when I smelled it the first time, it was like I have bananas, green bananas in the nose, which is, once again, weird because it's not like a rum. It's not like a rum finished spirit or something like that. So it was quite disturbing. And also you have someone that lost. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what you're doing. And also, in the nose, you have also a lot of wet woods, which coming from, I think, the 46 years of aging, of course. Yeah. What do you think about it?
Well, Mark was the first to go at it in the chat. He already killed three bottles of this, so I think it's as you said, Mikael. It's very strange actually to start off a tasting with a 46-year-old spirit. That it's because usually these kinds of things go later on in the session, but it works here because it's light, it's fruity, it's tropical, it's
exactly. Yeah. I think it's the lightest thing that we're gonna taste today, actually.
Yeah, and also I had a tasting with a whiskey club yesterday, and I was actually tempted to put this in blind between the whiskeys just to see what they would react like, because it's got it's got a big Irish whiskey thing going on here too, I think. The tropicalness.
Exactly, yeah. And so,
maybe a fun thing to go about, because I announced this session as about cocktails, and we start off with this, is maybe we should chat a little bit about sipping spirits versus mixing spirits. Is this a mixing spirit? Can you make cocktails with this, or is that a big no-no?
Well, Matthias gonna say the same thing as me. We can make cocktail with everything, even water. We don't care about this, but it's always difficult to think about the price about a cocktail. When you work in a bar, when you don't work at home, like Matthias, for example, when you work in a bar, you have to think about the price of the cocktail because people have to be able to afford it. Yeah. So when you think about something at 46 years old, normally it's gonna be like hundreds of euro, That one, I think, if I remember good, we are between 60 and 80 maximum. I'm not sure about the price.
It's
maybe
less
than of course it's less than that. I think it's less than 50.
Yeah, Glenn might be able to pitch in about the prices that these sell at, but it was about less than 50, I think. Yeah.
Perfect, which is weird. So when you have something like that, it's cool because you can work with it in a cocktail bar. You can work with it in a cocktail, and because you have some lightness, but also some expression, some complexity coming in the fruit side and stuff like that. For me, the best way it would be to do something that still empowers the cocktail. So, like we said before, something like a Sazerac, because Sazerac is a cocktail that puts the spirit in front of you, but just complete it with some nuance that you're going to work on the sugar, the bitter, and also the water by the dilution. So I'm going to make a Sazerac today, but to stay in that fruity notes, in that exotic flavors, instead of the sugar, we're going to use some pineapple syrup. Okay. Really easy to make. You just have to boil some pineapples with sugar and water. That's it. Quite easy to make. And instead of the Peugeot bitters, which is the bitter that we used to use for Sazerac, which is more on the absinthe note and stuff like that, we're gonna go on Amargo di Chuncho, which is a little bit between the Angostura bitter and the Peugeot bitter. So you have that spicy flavors, but also some more licorice. which give you some herbal notes, also vegetal notes. So just give me 1 second because I need to bring ice. Okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead. We'll
you.
talk. Glenn has added that the price point is at 37 euros ex VAT, so this is dirt
That's
cheap.
a good price.
Less euros than years in the cask, so that's pretty good, I think.
If only it worked always like that.
Yeah. I think you can agree, Matthias, that about the point that Mikael was making about mixing spirits and sipping spirits.
Absolutely. I think there's an obvious thing to keep in mind, like Mikael said, that from the point, if you're a bar and you need to sell your stuff, you need to know your audience. And there will be the question whether can they afford using a product like that in a cocktail? Because yes, every bar can put a €150 cocktail on a menu, but if you do not have the audience to drink it, it's a waste of the product. It's exactly like with wines and neat spirits, you know. But on the other hand, I was having this exact conversation, really funny, on coffee the other day with my parents, because in Ghent recently a coffee shop put a €150 coffee on the menu. Because it had something with like gold flakes and stuff going on, or like gold infused coffee beans, whatever. And the thing is, like, there's a certain price point at which people who have like money to spend, like, why not give them the opportunity to spend it on something crazy, you know? Yeah. Whether it be a cognac of €1,000 per bottle, or like a cocktail that's made with crazy spirits. I know there's several bars in Italy that put like 100-year-old Negroni on the menu, and you pay a couple of hundreds of euros. But of course, it comes down to the fact that you know what to do with your spirits. The conversation on what you can do at home is completely different, because you have paid for the bottle and you have something like that is either 50 centiliters or 70 centiliters at home. You can perfectly waste a couple of centiliters on trying to make a cocktail, you know, like, don't be too elitist or something. Like, why not try to use 5 centiliters? If it wasn't the best cocktail you made, like, of course, don't pour like 20 centiliters of orange juice over it, but, you know, like, try and make like a Manhattan style drink or an old fashioned style drink with it, and you're good to go. Everybody that is paying big money for a bottle of spirit probably has like a bottle of sweet vermouth or like a white vermouth and a dry vermouth, and can do like a little Manhattan or a martini style drink with it. And I think that's a bit where the discussion can lead us, especially like in this range as well. We're going to talk about some other spirits as well that often consumers buy with the mindset of this is a sipping spirit. But once you're on the way of knowing how to work with flavors, I think everything is go. Just don't waste it, you know. It's like serving your best whiskey to your father-in-law who just chugs it down and says like, oh yeah, give me another one.
Give me another one. Yeah.
You're wasting the good stuff on people sometimes, or you can waste it on cocktails, or spend it with good people, or spend it in good cocktails. Know the audience and know what you're doing, I'd say. I see Mark waving his finger around when I said the father-in-law.
Personally, that's how I won my father-in-law in trust, I would say. By I did a rum of passion.
Yeah, you just basically bribed him with expensive spirits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the drink is done. I'm just going to say something more. For Sazerac, normally you have to just rinse your glass, but my glass is from the fridge, so it's quite cold. But you have to rinse it with some absinthe, you know. So just you have in it, but I don't like to just trash it, so I'm going to drink it, of course. It's going to give you some, of course. Oh, that's a good one. Absinthe from Cinoco, also.
Of course.
And then you just pour it inside, and the absinthe actually is going to stay in the perfume, in the smell, and you have all the cocktail that's going to give you all the notes. It's easy peasy, as you've seen. Actually, I did it just in front of the camera, and just syrup, sugar, anyway, bitters, and spirits. And that's it. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. The first Sazerac I ever had was served in this in the copper jug, and it had a big jug of big stuff, a part of ice on the outside that was frozen on the outside. It was very strange.
Can you say that again?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
understand. So it was
no,
a
so-
copper.
A copper jug, like you know, a copper jug, and they had instead of the ice cubes in, they had a big piece of ice frozen to the outside.
Ah, okay.
So it looked amazing, but then at a certain moment it just fell off and then started to get messy. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we used to do the same thing at Cipiace, where I used to work before too, in Italian bar and restaurants. And you have another cocktail, the mint julep, which is served in a copper with a lot of crushed ice. And we used to give actually the thing with a lot of crushed ice, but also on the exterior of the glass, and coming at the table with a bowl. Actually, most of the time the bowl fell on the floor with water everywhere. Actually, yeah.
Sometimes you can go too showy with cocktails.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I actually had a similar mint julep style drink together with Glenn when we were in London. With Nomad Whiskey and London Number One, we were at the Aviator Bar, and they were serving mint juleps with like ice on the outside on the mug as well. So it kind of probably must be a thing or something that people do.
But it's cold as hell, actually. Yeah, as cold as possible.
Yeah. We've got some stuff happening in the chat. So we've got Glenn who's adding some other expressions from Caffo. 36-year-old, which is basically about the same price, and then a 9064, an older one even, which is a bit more expensive, but hey, maybe for the next tasting we can use that one. And then Joran from Rocktails is talking about how Bjorn learned whiskey from his father-in-law and then now has surpassed him in quality choice, so that's good.
I think
Aviator.
Geert was talking about the Sazerac from outer space from Buurburen. Yeah, but Buurburen had one. I think it was over €100 for the drink, and it was the premium drink in the bar. But yeah, you know those guys know what they're doing, so you're paying for quality, you know.
Yeah, I think it's to sum it up. I mean, you can always try that at home, but just start with the basic Sazeracs probably, and then go on to the special stuff, the more expensive stuff. I think I'm gone. Just talk on, guys. If I don't know if you hear me, but go ahead. My internet is unstable.
Oh, Jeroen is gone.
I'm back.
Stop talking. Okay,
Jeroen.
I'm back.
Okay, so and that's the story how I lost my hand. No.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Internet was a little bit unstable. There you go. So if that happens again, just go on. Act as if I'm not there. That's the best thing to do.
So as I was saying, like the use for a grape-based spirit was the original spirit used for a Sazerac. But after a couple of years, the phylloxera plague really started crushing the amount of grape spirit that went out to America, and that's when they switched to rye whiskey. So it was only for about 20 or 30 years that it was made with the cognac at first. Then it was switched over to rye, and it was only a lot later that they started going back to the original recipe. So it was just a matter of shortage of spirit, not really like a preference thing or something. If you're looking at the recipes from a historical point of view.
But and also a good point about what you just said. The only bar in the world where you can drink the real Sazerac with the real cognac from that moment, actually, it's the Savoy in the American bar at Savoy in London. And they have actually the original cognac with the original Peugeot and also the original absinthe. And I think the drink is like £250, something like that, if I'm right, actually. And there you can have the traditional real Sazerac, actually. It's the only place in the world where you can find that.
I think from like the point of view of drinking a pre-phylloxera cognac, it's not really that bad of a price.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Guys, we're already getting on tangents, but that's nice. I'll make a little bridge to the next drink because we're talking about cognacs which are from France. So let's go to France and have some Boulard Mizunara cask finish now.
Yay!
There you go. It's I wanted to say Calvados, but officially I can't call it a Calvados. I think I have to call it an Eau de Vie de Cidre because it was finished. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Actually, that's something really nice to ask because normally you're not wrong, but you're not right neither, because it's something quite new. Yeah, if you talk about Boulard, it's quite interesting to talk about Boulard when you have that question, because Boulard was one of the first house to ask about the EOC, so the Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée, for the Calvados. So they started in 1825. It was one of the first house of Calvados doing like exportation and stuff like that. They start to work, one of the first ones to work with the second distillation process, so to make it really as noble and as controlled as possible. But right now something happened every time.
The bottle is coming. The bottle is coming.
Yeah, sorry.
There you go.
But right now, actually, with all the new trends about the cask finish and stuff that we're gonna talk about, that's something that has to be how do I say that? Inserts in the rules, I think, because with that kind of close spirits, I would say you cannot evolve. And I think Calvados has to evolve like the other spirits, because without that, they're gonna stay just behind, And you have that with Boulard, which is really nice what they're doing with the cask finish, because you have the rye, the bourbon, them preparing the tequila now, and the Mizunara that we're gonna talk now. But you have also House of Rhum, which made the same thing actually also with rum and stuff. So I think it would be more interesting for Calvados to keep the AOC, but be able to do some finishes, clearly.
I think there's several brands really pushing this, that you see that are trying to put out releases that have like châtain, chestnut cask finishes or something.
Exactly.
Like that. And they all struggle with like the labeling, they have to look for stuff to put on it. But you notice that there are several brands really stepping forward in the process of like, we need to evolve, we need to become something that grows with a big interest in the spirit, because as you said, otherwise you're just going to be left behind at one point,
Yeah.
And there will always be an audience, but you're not going to like grow in that point of your spirit.
Exactly. To be modern. And that's why actually they use some Mizunara cask, actually, because Mizunara, for the people to understand what Mizunara is and why it's getting more expensive when you use Mizunara, is for few simple reasons. First, Mizunara is a Japanese tree that has to be at 200 years old to be able to be used, actually, because before that it's not ready. That's it. And also it's a really fragile wood. So to make the barrel with it, you have to be really precise and really, really taking your time. So that's why it's also rare, because of those two reasons. And then also everybody wants to use it. When you need 200 years to grow it, and everybody wants to use it. I just saw actually today that Dewars is doing also something with Mizunara, yeah.
Chivas has done it too. Chivas Regal.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So because of all this, it makes it really trendy actually to use, And we're gonna talk about the product later, but just for you to know some details about the product. So it's extra old, so 6 years old for Calvados, and they have only a few weeks in the Mizunara cask, actually not so much. But the reason is because the kind of woods is really, and I don't have the word in English, poreux.
Porous, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Okay, quite easy. So he's gonna drink a lot. So you cannot leave it for months and years and stuff like that, So it makes also something really rare, something really difficult to do. So that's why the price is going higher, of course, too. But the result is, as we're gonna taste, actually, is amazing. Actually, really amazing for just a few weeks. Yeah.
I think it's funny with this is like, if you compare it to like the previous spirit, the brandy, that has been left for 46 years on wood.
Exactly.
And compared to this one is a lot more woody in like a sense. It's not like overly wooded, but it tastes more like it had wood compared to a 46-year-old spirit.
Exactly. And you always keep the apple.
Yeah. Well, what I always think about with these finishes with every spirit that is finished on a different type of cask is you need to look for balance. You mean you want to have the original spirit flavor, but you also want the flavor of the cask that you're using.
Exactly.
And either way, if you go too much, then it's not really worth it to use that kind of cask. So what do we need to look for? What is the exact influence? What do you taste from the Mizunara cask in this sample?
Well, to be honest, I think you have to taste the other's cask finish, for example, or the simple XO Boulard to understand, because it's so well done. It's totally homogenic, if I can say that like that. Yeah. So it's not like if you go for something else where you're gonna have like a tequila cask, which is really complexity, give you a lot of taste. Actually, you're gonna have like the product, and then you have the tequila notes coming in it. So kind of like two steps, you know. In that case, actually, you have something so well balanced, so well homogenic that you cannot taste the differences without having something to start with, you know. But me, I tasted before, so I know that what's gonna do the Mizunara is giving all the flower notes actually, and stay in the fruitiness without giving like the strong vanilla taste that American oak will give. That one's gonna give you something really floral, actually, and something that's gonna stay elegant. It's really light, also, you know, yeah. And you're gonna keep the apple, which is for me the most important thing. But even if you do like a finish, you have to keep the apple in the Calvados. Yeah. What do you think, guys?
I think that, like, as you were saying, like it tastes like a Calvados you would drink in spring or summer, rather than like the Calvados identity that you taste in like fall or winter, where you're more looking for like apples with spices or like apples with darker flavors. Here you're really looking for apples that have something youthful, like more effervescence in like more souplesse.
I think Mark says it well. He put some nice tasting notes in the chat, and they end with the Mizunara gives it something herbal and minty, and that's the freshness you're talking about, I think.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting. Yeah.
Really great notes, by the way.
Yeah. Probably we can, as soon as the tasting is finished, we can read all about them on Mark's blog. So he usually, when he's in a tasting, about 3 seconds after it's finished, the blog is online. So there you go.
Nice to know. But have you guys tasted the other finish?
I haven't, only the classic.
No? Okay, we're gonna talk later. I'm gonna try to give you some samples, because I think because you like old school cocktail, you would really like the rye finish, actually, and also the bourbon finish, of course, because it's really different from that one. Because in that one, like I said, it's really homogenic, really balanced. In the others, it goes by steps. Actually, you have the bourbon one. You're gonna have the apple first, and then you're gonna have the characteristic of the bourbon coming afterwards. And it's a VSOP, so it's a little bit younger. So you have the apple that is more vivid, more effervescent, as you say. I'm not sure of the word, but the woodiness coming afterwards really reminds you about a young bourbon, you know, like the corny taste, you know, that kind of stuff. So for cocktails, for a Manhattan or for an old fashioned, it works perfectly, really perfectly. Yeah. I will try to send you some samples.
All right. See some other tasting notes: woody, nutty, wet moss. Mark has tried the bourbon and rye finish before already, of course. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Again, go ahead, Matthias.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like if you're looking into cask finishes, sometimes it's more interesting from like a learning perspective than really from a drinking perspective. You know, like as you were saying, Mikhail, like you're tasting them next to each other. Sometimes you're not specifically gonna like it as a drinking spirit, but it's super interesting to learn how wood influences a certain type of spirit. And if you can compare the different ones next to each other, you'll also learn how to evolve your own palate or evolve your own drinking patterns. And that's a cool nerdy thing these days, you know, where there's such a variety in casks. Just the other day, I had a friend of mine who was doing a beer tasting, and they had the same beer that was finished on Armagnac, tequila, Tabasco, and port wine.
Okay.
And she was just talking about the fact like not all of them were great, not all of them were super tasty, but you learn so incredibly much from like comparing them and drinking them, trying them, which also gives you such fantastic insight on the amazing talent that master blenders have. You know, the cask blending is immensely interesting. Whereas it's often like a bit downgraded, like these days. Oh, people want single cask, they want weird finishes, they want everything to be like super limited and unique. But I was talking actually with Mark about it on the Nignian tasting a couple of weeks ago. Like blends really should be like honored in a way that
for the craft that blending is.
Yeah, exactly. A master blender is really a master in working with flavors, whereas a single cask tells a story in a different way, you know.
Yeah, I also think that with these kinds of finishes, you get even more respect for the base product, for the ordinary Calvados, as we call it sometimes, because it is the palate that allows these casks to shine on. So that's also something. Mark says distilling is a science, blending is an art. There you go. That's a good quote. Yeah. And then Geert is offering some ideas to make a sour style drink with apricot or peach. Oh, sounds good.
Okay.
And Glenn is adding the prices. So 94 euros excluding VAT. So there you go. Yeah, that's Mizunara is not cheap. That's the only the only problem with Mizunara sometimes, I feel. So.
Like we said, actually, it's because it's so rare, so expensive to make. It has to be expensive in the price also. It's normal.
Yeah. But Glenn will certainly be able to organize a Mizunara finish tasting for us with different spirits on different Mizunara casks in the future.
Oh damn!
You see him taking his notes and writing it down for for the future.
Nice. Why not?
Yeah. Guys, maybe it's time to go on to the next thing in line, which is probably the one that I know the least about from all the spirits or drinks that we're going to have, which is the Golden 8, the Massenet Pear Liqueur. So,
I'm coming back. I'm gonna get some water, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
After Mikhail returns, I'll go grab some ice.
Yeah, because it's your time to shine now, Matthias.
I'll just put my head under this light because apparently the reflection is huge. No, liqueurs, especially in a tasting like this, we had a little pre-chat for the people listening right now, where we talked about the order of products we were going to taste. It's something we do every tasting, at least I do it for mine. I guess Jeroen does it with the other people as well.
Yep.
But it makes a difference, and I know people who go to fairs a lot. You just don't go to the first booth and start drinking, you walk around a bit, you discover the things that are put out, and you make an order. You pick something because your palate is gonna influence the next product you're tasting. So you want that bread, you want that water, but you also need to think a little bit about what you're doing, and that's what we did here as well. So we're gonna go sweeter right now with the liqueur. but that also tells you that the other products we're going to be tasting later, whether it's spirits or the bitter, we're going to go up in terms of like palatal, how to say it, challenges or something.
Yeah. Complexity.
Yeah, complexity, better word. But maybe Mikael can tell a bit about the liqueur while I go grab my ice.
Yay! So basically, Massenet is what it is. It's an old school eau de vie, liqueur / cream / lots of stuff family dating back in 1870 in France. Okay, so they're in the region Val de Villers. So, like I said, actually, they've been doing eau de vie and liqueurs for a long time, and they're well known because it's quite difficult to find good eau de vie, let's say like that, because most of the time it's going to be really traditional, quite I would say rustical, quite from the village, I would say, to explain a little bit what I mean. Those one actually are really well because we have the fruits, you have the spirits, you have the alcohol, but all well blend together, as we talked about before. The blending is the best part, actually. Yeah. And when you talk about also liquor and cream, most of the time you're gonna have too much sugar or not sugar enough. You're gonna have the fruit that's gonna taste like a bit chemical, like some brands, I would say. Not in those one, actually, you're gonna find really the taste of the fruits every time. I've been working with a lot of eau de vie in bars. The best one I never tasted is the framboise sauvage. So the wild raspberry from Massenet, actually. I did a cocktail today, actually, for a future bar that's going to open in few days, in few weeks, with the raspberry, the wild raspberry, because it gives so many flavor profile, because you have the fruitness, you have also like the autumn foresty thing coming on afterwards, and then you have the kick of alcohol coming also together. And the goldenate, if you talk about only the goldenates, it's a quite good example of what a good eau de vie and what a good liquor is, because it's a blend of both of it. So you have the pale liquor, and then you have the eau de vie, which is 8 years old. So, and they blend together. And so you're still keeping the strength of the eau de vie and the taste of the grain, also the grain spirits. And then you're going to have the sugar and the pear worked in the liquor coming afterwards. So both together works perfectly. It's well-balanced product. And that's really how the Massenet house has been working for 150 years.
Matthias is putting together all his stuff. We've seen some bottles pass by already. What are you doing?
Right, so I made a drink. The core of the drink starts with a reverse Manhattan style drink. So reverse means that instead of using two parts, use two parts of the wine and one part of the spirit, which gives a completely different approach to the drink. It's lighter in alcohol, but it's still full of flavor. But it makes all the ingredients shine in a bit different way. As my base, I'm using a combination of Evan Williams, bourbon.
Fanboy.
I'm
Just a little bit.
Vina AB.
Oh, yeah.
Amontillado sherry, which is a dry style sherry. Beautiful. It's one of my favorite products ever to drink. It's the kind of stuff I always have a bottle open of, either this or the Oloroso from BS Price quality. These two are insane, both for mixing and drinking neat. I'm going to combine it with, so it's essentially 50 mLs of the Amontillado sherry to 30 mLs of the bourbon. So almost 2 to 1. And we're going to add 15 mLs of the Massenet, the Golden 8. That's the reason I also use the drier wine to start from. So instead of using a sweet vermouth or like a cream sherry or something, I opt to use my Massenet as both of like a little sweetener aspect and a fruity aspect, because like the pears and the oxidative notes in the sherry pair very well. Get it? Pair. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good pairing.
I made it in my mind.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm a
No,
teacher. I can make those jokes. I have this
I-
I have the badge of making bad jokes.
Yeah, we should have made a like a poll on when the first joke about pear and pairing would fall. So yeah.
I got it. I'm also going to use some chartreuse jaune, just for complexity. Green chartreuse is one of my favorite things to drink, but yellow chartreuse is one of the most underrated like liqueurs around. The honey aspect of it really adds something nice to it. Just a tiny bit, 7.5 mLs. And then to finish things off, depending on how full or how empty your bottle of Angostura bitters is, either 1 or 2 dashes. Because like in bars, they often put their bitters in like different bottles because they can like measure the amount of liquid leaving the bottle a bit better. But if you're at home, you're probably not doing this. But yeah, 1 dash is like a really sketchy amount.
Yeah, but you
especially
have
if you're making more subtle drinks.
Yeah.
So either 1 good or 2 less.
As Daniel Jones from
Exactly.
Angostura used to say, a big boy dash.
Exactly.
Big boy
That's
dash.
what I was looking for.
Either 1 big boy dash or 2
or too
moderate
small.
dashes.
Yeah.
We're gonna stir it with ice and serve it up in a coupe glass or a Nick and Nora glass. It's even a Cuccello glass, like whoop, whoop, even more
There you
promo.
Damn, I don't have it.
Oh, I
Seriously.
have one too here somewhere here. So
Okay, cool. That's nice to work for Cinoco. Okay.
yeah.
In terms of stirring, when you go lighter in alcohol, just stir a little less than you would do with like a very high alcohol drink. So depending on the wetness of your ice, we could go very geeky here as well. I go for about like 20 seconds, maybe a little less. But yeah, just try to find your own sweet spot. Taste a little bit on the way. And
It's
like,
the Vigna Abbé sherry mark that he's using.
By the way, while he's doing the cocktail, do we taste the liquor maybe?
Oh yeah, I've tasted already. Yeah, I think everybody has. So,
okay.
Yeah, we're not waiting for signals to start tasting usually.
I didn't know. My first time, guys. Just tell
There
me
you go.
things. Look at that guy.
Look at him showing off.
right. Normally I would put like a nice slice of pear on there as well for garnish, but like we're online right now, so I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sharing this drink in like a little video on Instagram in 2 days. So if you want the recipe and to do a little bit of a shout out to the team and the tasting, I'll be doing it soon, so you'll see it there.
Cool.
Nice.
So yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Maybe an interesting thing about this cocktail, Matthias, is pear is not a flavor that we find a lot of in cocktails or in drinks even. So
no, pear is one of those flavors that if you're looking up either classic cocktails or modern classic cocktails, you'll close to never find. There are drinks, but they don't make it to like the next level of being like shared around the world. Whether it has to do with the fact that there are very few good pear liqueurs widely available, that could be one reason. Whether it is because pear is not just like the most prominent flavor. You know, there's some calvados like Domfronté, which are like a bit higher in pear, but there's Eau de Vie de Poire William, but there's not really a large thing with pears in general in drinks, I'd say, which is kind of a bit sad because like pear can be like a very interesting flavor. If you're using the juice, you get a nice viscosity, you get a nice, like, you know, you get this really velvety mouth feel that some other fruits cannot give you. But it's not that easy to I'm not gonna say it again, to pair.
Say it.
But like there are classic flavor pairings. This is getting too bad. And while you were doing the introduction, Mikael, you were talking about your favorite favorite cocktails. You said the penicillin. I was just thinking like.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do like a penicillin or something?
Oh, there you go.
Like add some pear.
No.
Scotch whiskey and the ginger.
I don't like that joke, but okay. No, I'm kidding. No, of course.
But you do get the flavor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You get the Scotch whiskey. You get the ginger. You get the lemon, and add some pear to that.
Well, to be honest, actually, when you talk about classics and stuff like that, that's true. You don't have a lot of pear cocktail that's quite classic or worldwide classic, I would say. But you can see that nowadays, because of the bartenders trying to be as seasonal as possible, trying to work with the season, and when you are in Europe or in the US and you don't have tropical fruits during the autumn and the winter, you have to work with what you have. And that's why actually your cocktail that you just made is a perfect example of this. You're gonna work on the nutty flavors and on the pear. And the last bar where I used to work is owned actually by two guys from Normandy, the Modern Alchemists. And so we had to work with Calvados quite a lot. Yeah, that's my wife. You had to work with Calvados quite a lot, with cognac also. So when you work with that kind of products, most of the time you're going to go for pear because it pairs pretty well with it, actually. It goes pretty well together. So yeah, so I think that's something we're going to see more and more coming in the few years, because also Calvados is coming back. That kind of alcohol, you said Port William. Port William is coming way back, actually. It's coming more and more, actually. Yeah, so I think that's something that's going to restart to see. We're going to start to see it in all the cocktail kingdom and cocktail guides, and stuff like that, coming back in the front of the scene, I would say. It's something that's going to take some time. But yeah, that's difficult to work with, but we're going to have to.
Yeah. Mark was asking, he said, yeah, this is quite sweet. Is this something that you drink neat as opposed to in a cocktail, or is this especially meant for cocktails?
It's with ice. Actually, you should drink it on the rocks or with the tonic, for example. That's something that most of the time you're going to see in the winter markets, in the Christmas market and stuff like that, where you can drink it also hot, actually.
Glue pear.
Exactly what you said.
Yeah,
I guess. But but yeah, actually, yeah, it goes well in the glue wine taste and the green wine style drink, I would say, and stuff like that. And also with also I don't remember the name, but it's what the apple juice, the warm apple juice. I don't remember the name of this, where you put actually some pear liquor in it. It goes pretty well with it too. So I think it will really depend where you're gonna drink it. But most of the time, you're gonna drink it on the rocks or mixed, because alone is quite sweet, of course. Yeah. But it's really interesting sweet alone, because I think the chocolate nose that you have in your mouth is coming right to you and stays quite long, actually. Yeah. If you smell it, that's what you're gonna have, because you're gonna have the chocolate taste coming back, and then you're gonna have the pear staying also there, and you're gonna have the alcohol, because you still have alcohol in it and you still taste it. And the sweetness, it's a liquor, of course, but it's not too sweet.
It's not sticky at all.
Exactly, yeah. Like you said before, there is a lot of pear liquor on the market, and most of them are really too sweet, and you just taste. You don't taste the pear. You just taste sugar.
Yeah, there's a big difference in like smelling pear. If you open a bottle of cheap liqueur, you smell its pear flavor. But once you add it to something, you only keep like the alcohol and sugar. The flavor is not really fruit.
Exactly.
It goes away, and that's where this really differences from the rest. Which also leads me to like a little anecdote between Mikael and me, because we actually met through a sherry cocktail that he made in the Tio Pepe cocktail competition, which chocolate and pear.
Freak.
So,
I forgot that.
So we met. It was 19, I think. Yeah, it was 2000.
No, 18, I think.
18. Okay. 18 or 19.
Yeah.
I was judging the Tiopipe sherry cocktail competition together back then with Andres from Tapas Bar, who won it the year before, and the team from Cinoco.
Glenn says it's 2019.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Woo woo. No.
Oh, come on.
Mikael made one of the top 3 drinks. I think back then it was a superb drink which combined sherry with pear and chocolate. And like on paper, it's a logical combination, but he made it so well that like it was, yeah. Absolutely.
Come
on. Big love.
Shut up.
Can we share that recipe too with the people?
Yes, of course. I'm gonna put it. But the idea of the cocktail was doing recreating a calimucho, which is not so sexy actually, because calimucho is basically a red wine with Coke, you know. Yeah, but the idea was that, and I did a pairing with the Pedro Jimenez, the Cristina, I. Oh, fuck. Put back your clothes. Oh.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry.
My other hand.
Sorry, guys. Don't know what's up with the internet today, but hey, there you go. Listen, I think we're kind of sick of all the pear jokes. So why don't we go on to something
virgin
else?
Jokes.
Let's go to virgin jokes. That was my bridge that you kind of killed there now, Matthias. But let's just have the virgin oak by Braeckman as the next one. But I do suggest that everybody has a good sip of water now before we go on to this, because we're going to a completely different world now. There you go. So this was last year one of my discoveries of the year. This whiskey, I really like this stuff.
So, I don't know if everybody knows a little bit of about Braeckman. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving.
There he is.
Yay.
Sorry, guys. Just go on. Just act as if I'm always here.
Okay. And so, yeah, so in that one, I think it's really interesting to have like the new oak, I would say, smell and taste that is quite rare in the whiskeys. And I think it's cool that it's one from Belgium, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, it's made with rye and orge malt. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the name yet.
Yeah. Barley malt. Huh?
Malted barley.
Barley, thank you.
Malted barley, yeah. What I really enjoy about this whiskey is it's only 4 years old, and we had the 46-year-old brandy. This is a 4-year-old single grain, but it already has so much maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I think it's part from the new oak also, because it's getting more the wood drink more because it's new, never had something before.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah. Virgin oak is very active type of cask, so that gives a lot of flavor in a small period of time. So,
I think this is one of the type of like finishes that really like pushes you to either like or dislike a spirit. It cannot really like I noticed that when I taste virgin oak finished spirits, whether it be rums or whiskeys or whatever, like I either like it or dislike it. There's almost no neutral opinion on it. You know, it has this specific way of influencing a spirit. But in this case, I absolutely enjoy it. It gives the complexity really pulls open all registers for a very very young, like a pretty young spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, maybe go ahead, Mikael.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going back to the earlier discussion we had about sipping versus mixing drinks. I mean, since this has big part of rye in it, would you use it in cocktails that traditionally ask for rye whiskey, or what? Manhattans?
But and I would say exactly the opposite of the reverse Manhattan. I would go for the driest Manhattan possible, actually. For me,
what is more difficult is that you mix something in which the product you want to highlight still has all of its nuances. You know, like fumes, or as with like neat spirits, cocktails also have like their initial impression. You have like the second or third sip. You have the last sip after either it is more diluted when it's served with ice, or when the temperature has risen when it's served up. And you need to learn how to control flavor evolution with cocktails as well. And I think that's one of the biggest things to learn when you start mixing cocktails, is how that like if you mix something, the interaction between ingredients will also change over the time of the drink. And that's where you learn that while, for example, sipping spirits, you want to take time, you want to try it, you want to let it open up. You give it time, you taste it again in 10 minutes afterwards, you know, like you have that, you savor those last drops once you thought it was finished, but you see there's like one last tiny sip in the glass left. With cocktails, you shouldn't be doing that, you know, like the idea behind a cocktail is that you drink it before it dies, you know. The cocktail is created within a time span, you know, because after a while the temperature will either have risen too much, or the drink will have been diluted too much, at least from my perspective of mixing. And like knowing how to maintain the balance in that short amount of time, that's where you really learn how to balance flavors.
Exactly. But for me, actually, what you said is true, but it depends which cocktail. And that's why I think for people that want to do cocktail at home, old school cocktail like Manhattan, Sazerac, old fashioned is, and Sazerac is a little bit different, but Manhattan cocktail and Boulevardier, which is a Negroni with whiskey, for people to understand, which is served neat without ice. That kind of cocktail are perfect to drink at home, because you can let it warm it up, and it's gonna be totally different. Me, that's why I love Manhattan and Boulevardier, and also during the winter, at the end of my shift, for example, because it's by getting warmer, it's gonna get more alcoholic. Of course, you're gonna have the strength coming more to you, but also you're gonna have different notes coming with it, you know, like a neat spirits actually. So you're gonna have, because you have vermouth and bitters, you're gonna have spices, you're gonna have the winey part coming afterwards also. So most of the time when I'm drinking a Manhattan, I'm going to drink it in 30 or 40 minutes, because I want to see how it's going to evolve, actually. Yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, I'm taking my time. Yeah, yeah. And yeah,
Please
I
don't tell
think
me you drink your martinis over 40 minutes.
I don't drink martinis, man. Here's your answer. No, no, I'm a whiskey guy. I love drinking whiskey cocktails. That's why, because once again, whiskey cocktails, most of them, those kind of old school cocktail, you can let it rest. You're gonna drink the alphabet, you're gonna leave it on the bar, you're gonna talk with someone, you're gonna watch your movie or something, and when you're gonna come back, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be good. If it's well done, it's still gonna be good actually. And that's why I love it in that kind of proportion, because if you put too much or too much bitters, it's gonna be difficult to drink afterwards. But if you stay on the spirits, if you stay in the proportion on the spirits, it's going to be really good afterwards, because it's just going to be the spirits with more spices. And that's how you have to think that kind of cocktail. And also when you have to do cocktail at home, because when you're doing cocktail at home, it's to be casual with your friends or something. You're not going to drink it fast. So I think you have to think about, okay, I can drink it with time, actually. Yeah. Taking your time, have a cigarette, do something, Yeah. But for the rest, you're totally right. When you use like lemon or egg white, for example, you have to drink it fast, because it's going to be disgusting after 10 minutes. Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Also, like, what is a very interesting type of cocktails is something that is very uncommon to serve. It's called a scaffa, and scaffa are like room temperature cocktails, which they're undiluted, and they are served like neat. So you just blend spirits and other products together. Like it's not a big genre of cocktails. It's something that is very niche.
Could you give an example of one of those cocktails?
Life is Beautiful. I had one like that.
I should look up some names. I cannot think of names of classic recipes of those, but it's something like, especially with like the resurgence of Amari. Like there is a world of like mixing like the digestifs with spirits and bitters, and it's just served like mixed in the glass with a bar spoon without anything. Just like I will be making like a tea punch later on with the épices Créoles. I don't do my tea punch with ice. I do it like the island way. Just pour something in your glass and drink it like that. And I think there's a beauty to it, because water is a extremely important part of like making cocktails. But if you decide to take it out, you're approaching your products from an entirely different way. But that's an entirely different discussion, and maybe seeing the time.
Yeah. I was just going to say, maybe it's a good way to go over to the next one, which is the Épices Créoles, the GM rum. And then you've already made the bridge to the next one, so let's just do that.
Yeah. So I'm quickly gonna take a glass, and for this one, like I could prepare like a ton of drinks, like Épices Créoles and the other GM products in the same range. The
Volcanique.
The Volcanique and the Jardin
Fruité.
Yeah, they are compared to the other products we have been tasting today, with exception of maybe like the Bloodburger, maybe like compared to the spirits, the Braeckman, the Caffo, and
Boulard.
Épices Créoles is designed for mixing. Like it is made to play with, and that's something which I'm very happy about. That like the entire world of spirits is also like really looking into, like, we're gonna play along with the resurgence of like cocktails in this genre. The tea punch comes from petit punch, the classic way of like making a little punch. Is a typical drink from the Caribbean, Martinique, specifically, where you just pour together sugar, like the tiniest bit of lime, and I'm going to show you how, and agricole rum. Whether it's an unaged or an aged, doesn't matter. And they serve it with a sentence called "Chacun prépare sa propre mort," which means like everybody prepares their own preferred death. They say they just serve it with like, put a bottle of the rum on the table, they put sugar on the table, and they put a lime there, and say like, you do you serve it how you like your own drink. And you can go extremely hard on the liquor, or you can make it like sweet sour, depending on how you want it. What you do is you take a lime and you're gonna slice a coin. You're gonna slice it like this way, where you get like big piece of peel and a little bit of the juice, but you don't want it to be without the juice, you know? So like this. Do you see it? Yeah. I'm just gonna pour it out in your glass. Just squeeze it a little bit, drop it in. Then you add your sugar. You can use grain sugar and mix it a bit, but I'm using Clément sugar syrup. Woo woo, Clément. And like you do a splash, you know, whatever. If you want it sweet, you do a bit more. If you don't like it too sweet, you do a bit less. And then you take your bottle of Épices Créoles or your sample of Épices Créoles and you just pour it over it.
We're not doing patisserie here. We're just doing, not measuring everything.
We're doing Caribbean beach.
Yeah.
Enjoying ourselves, you know. It's almost the end of the table. There you go. Woo, woo, like this. You just add a bit. And then you take your swizzle stick or a bar spoon or whatever. I'm gonna use my fancy golden swizzle stick here. I just blend the things a bit together, you know. Because you're so jealous, right? Oh, just
exactly. What is it? We're gonna talk later. Okay.
And you just like mix the things up a little bit, like, and that's where the essence of the Sazerac and the old fashioned and everything comes from. The tea punch is why you have like some citrus, you have some sweetness, you have your spirits, and possibly you can, some bars serve it with ice, crushed ice, cubed ice, whatever. It's the essence of what the classic cocktail is, and you just drink it like this. And there you go, guys. Cheers.
Yes.
Just for you to know, also some French tip, I would say, about the tea punch. What you just said, actually, what you just did, is what we call a décollage. So it's I don't know how to say that in it's not a landing, it's the opposite with the plane. Or you go
taking off.
Lift off.
Yeah.
Off. Yeah.
A lift off, exactly, actually, because that's what they do actually during when they start the day to work. Actually, they just drink a tea punch and then they off they go. Actually, that's why they call that a décollage. Actually, yeah.
It's because they don't have espresso coffee.
Yeah, and because they have rum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Ooh.
It was a bit too sweet.
Was a bit too sweet. I can imagine, Matthias.
I understand that too.
Mm-hmm.
No, but Rhum GM is a really beautiful house. Actually, there, it took me time, for example, to like it, because it's not for everybody. It's not for people that start, I would say, in the agricole rum, because agricole rum is something really different from the other rums. It's not made the same way. It's a French style, so it's made with sugarcane juice. Is aged differently and stuff like that. So if you start with agricole rum, if you go for Clément, it's going to be more easy to try it because it's going to be less aged, it's going to be less on the wood, it's going to be on the sugarcane, a little bit sweeter, I would say. GM is really dry. It's really, really dry, and the aging process are really powerful. They burn themselves, actually, the wood inside. So they really try to give as much as woodiness as possible. And there is zero sugar also in it, which is for some people difficult to think about, you know. So I think, yeah, GM is, when you start to like that kind of rum, you should go for it directly. Mm-hmm. You're enjoying yourself, right?
Matthias is very happy now.
Yeah, absolutely.
We lost him. Okay.
I'm in the zone. You know, this is the type of drink. You know, when it comes down to drinks, like Mikael has been talking about the Manhattan. You know, it's just like spirit, bitters, fortified or aromatized wine. Mm-hmm. For me, like either like a tea punch or like a daiquiri. Those two drinks, if you want to make a rum shine,
exactly,
there's really nothing that goes above it. And like, I love cocktails. You know, everybody that knows me a little bit knows that I can nerd on about this like for hours and hours, days, weeks, months. But when I get a bottle of agricole rum in, it is no joke. The first thing I do is like, I pour a bit out, I try it, I smell it, I taste it, and I go for a tea punch, and I just see how the effect of lime and like sugar go with it. Do note that for this drink, I really don't use simple syrup. I know it's the easy syrup to go with, but I always have a bottle of like the Clément sugar syrup, like Trois Rivières has it as well. Sorry for the concurrency. Like,
I'll edit it out.
Don't say it.
You know, like get some Martinique sugar syrup, like, and just enjoy it like this. And I have been going through phases where I really like to enjoy my spirits like high in alcohol and neat. And I go through my phases where I want them like low alcohol, mixing cocktails. But this is the perfect balance for me. Like it never tastes wrong, whether it's summer, winter, spring, fall, whether it's early on the day or later on the evening. There's something about this that just always works. And yes, sorry, that's why I was zoning out. Like,
what is the difference between simple syrup and the Martinique sugar syrup?
Simple syrup is made with like refined sugar, like for example, here for us, it's often made with like beet sugar. That you just 1 part sugar, 1 part water, and you either heat it up to dissolve or you shake it up to dissolve. You can go like with heat or just like friction. Martinique syrup and other like more Caribbean sugars are using less refined sugar for their syrups.
Okay.
And it does have an influence. It's not as heavy as like Demerara sugar syrup, which is like really heavy and a bit more molasses inspired. This falls somewhere in between. So
yeah. And also it's made with sugar cane.
Choosing the sugar for your pancakes, you know, whether you want to use like cassonade or like
Cinoco suiker or dark brown sugar.
Exactly, like you go with the stuff you like. But this is like the kindje suiker for the pannenkoeken. This is what you want here.
That's a good quote to put above the video for YouTube.
Exactly. But you have to say that it's made with sugarcane syrup, actually. When you use something from Martinique, it's made with sugarcane, which is not the same taste, of course.
Geert is saying it's always fun when visiting supermarkets in Germany. They all actually sell sugar that labels perfect for cocktails. Okay. And is it perfect for cocktails then, Geert? Probably not. Yeah, quite. Okay.
Like on that note, especially like often people look at like sugar as an enemy, you know, like but when you start getting into cocktails and you're a bit more advanced in it, you learn to see sugar as your friend. You know, it doesn't have to be like just a thing that sweetens or closes down flavors. You learn how to appreciate it and see what effect it has on the combined ingredients.
Also finding the balance, of course, with the sugar too. But nowadays, actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's so many different types of sugar syrups. You have gum syrup, you have like Demerara syrup, you have regular syrup. Like the effect it has on the viscosity of like the drink as well is huge.
But also thank you. Nowadays, actually, we try to take some, I would say, cooking lessons, actually cooking tips, how to use less sugar by using salt, for example. So that's why you're gonna find more and more time some salty mixture or something like that to expand the taste also. So sugar is always gonna be present because it works perfectly with so many things. It helps you to expand the taste of something, but you start to learn how to balance it, to make it as less sweet as possible, because we should drink less sugar than we do actually, and eat less sugar, of course.
It's nerdy times on sugar, Glenn says, and then Joren adds, it's like an egg in the mayo. So now I'm imagining somewhere, some place they're having an online mayonnaise tasting and talking and nerding out on eggs.
You invited two bartenders. What you mean?
Let's go flips all around. I think flips are the most like underrated style of cocktails?
I think I had it twice in 2 bars in my life. No, we're not gonna do that. No.
Not tastes. Let's do a flip session. Glenn, write it down.
Seriously,
flip session.
Yeah, and then people can vote on whether it's good or not, and then they can call it a flip or a flop. Flip flop tasting. There you go.
Same
All
level
right.
as the pear. No, it's okay. No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good.
Maybe it's time because we're talking about sugar. Maybe we should go to the bitter.
Yeah, let us go.
To go to the other end of the spectrum, maybe. So to end the tasting, let's have a sip of the blood bitter and see what that where that leads us to.
Yay.
On that
So,
while Mikael is preparing something and he's getting.
yay.
We're gonna add, like, I'm not gonna talk about them too much, but I'm gonna add some recipes for the bitter in the email that Jeroen is gonna send out. Just because there's an extremely interesting amount of like drinks that go well with the blood bitter, and we could be talking here until like midnight if I go crazy. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna skip it. Sorry for. And Mikael is gone. So on that note, I had prepared some drinks now.
So it's a Dutch one. This one, Petrus Boonekamp.
Yeah, and it's you could say like it's an interesting alternative for anything that is like Campari or like Martini bitter, aperitif style bitters. Mikael, up to you.
Sorry, guys, I had to take some ice in some glasses. So what I'm going to show you actually is how I like to drink a bitter and how I like to taste it first to see if it goes pretty well in a cocktail. I prefer to do something quite easy. Like you talked about the tea punch before, I think to taste a spirit or a product is always nice to taste it in something quite simple, I would say. In that case, what I'm going to do is a twist on the Americano, which is only the blood bitter. And some tonic. Because we're going to see if it is too sweet or is it too bitter? Is it too much on the, I would say the orange, the agrume, the citrus, or stuff like that, you know?
I'm not going to say what Glenn says in the chat.
What did he say?
He said nice balls.
Come on, man, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that to my boss. I don't care.
Yeah.
So like I said, just mix your balls a little bit, you know, nice and easy, nice and easy. There we go. Nice balls. Okay. And then for to help, because bitters is always a reflection of citrus. Most of the time, it's going to be the orange, the bitter orange from Calabria, from Calabria, for example. Me, actually, I like when that kind of things really simple is to go more on the grapefruit, because the grapefruit is going to stay in the bitterness. And I think the taste of the grapefruit is just amazing, actually. So it's one of my favorite agrumes, citrus. So here you go. You have something really easy to do. So freaking refreshing. And that you can make for a party with your friends, actually. Yeah. Good appetizer. Cheers. Salute.
Salute.
Cheers, man.
Damn.
So
that's not good at all.
It's not good at all. No, of course not. No, don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home.
So how would you say that the one we have in a glass now, so the blood bitter from Petrus Boonekamp, what makes it different from the other bitters that are on the market?
Well, right now we have a lot of bitters coming on the market. I mean, we have the bitters like Angostura bitters, for example, which are used just to enhance a little bit the taste, but you have to use it as a drop, or like Daniel Jones as a shot. You know, it depends who you are, I would say. but they're just for drops, I would say. Then you have the drinkable bitters. The most known would be Campari, for example, which is really bitter, but get kind of like a dilution and also a little bit of sugar in it. And then you have the other kinds, which is proper to Italia, is the Amaros. Amaros are made with sugar, so there is a sweetness in it, period. And I would say the direction is the same as for Campari. You have you have always citrus, orange, grapefruit, if you talk about Select, for example, or blood orange for others, So that's, for me, the three characteristics that you're going to have in bitters. And right now, because you have like a trend about Italian spirits, about vermouths, about sherries, like we talked before, and about also bitters, you have a lot of them coming on the market. I think it's going to depend what kind of bitters are you looking for. If you're looking for that kind of cocktail, which is really simple, you need something really bitter. If you have something sweet, it's not going to work because it's going to be too sweet with the tonic and stuff like that. If you're looking for a cocktail like we talked about the Manhattan before, which is perfect with the right vermouth, or the Negroni or the Boulevardier, you're going to try to find something that is going to pair with the spirit you're going to use. Me, I'm a huge fan of Carpano, Antica Formula, because it's traditional, it goes straight to the point, it's winey, it's spicy, and you have also the absinthe, the herbal notes coming right afterwards. The first vermouth that I found that works pretty well instead of Carpano would be La Copa from González Bias. Because the other one actually has the same, I would say, barrique taste, the same woodiness and stuff like that. For bitters, it's really difficult for me to say which bitter I would prefer, because it's going to depend on the cocktail that you're going to make. If you go for something like that, it's perfect to use something like if you go for something a little bit more like a spritz, you have also mezzodi, which is more an aperitif, less bitter, more sweet, more round. That would go perfectly also with it. It would depend on what you're planning to do.
I would like to add that like a lot of people know like if you have like flavors in general, you have like the sweet, sour, the bitter, the salt, and like the umami, and is there something else?
Sweet. There are six. Yeah, there are six.
Which am I missing? Like sweet, sour, bitter, salty, umami, and
there's a couple more, but they are not really recognized yet as official flavors.
Right. So, but like sweet and sour is easy, Sweet and sour is like it's like a classic, like in a daiquiri or a margarita or a whiskey sour, you have like the sweet and sour balance. If you're using bitters or aperitivi, amari and stuff like that, there's a super fun way to play around with bitters. It's called a shakerato. A shakerato is just using like an aperitivi, where you just add like a little bit of salt, like a pinch of salt, or like saline solution, like where you dissolve salt in water, and add like 1 drop or like orange blossom water, something like very floral, and just shake it. So you take like, for example, 6 centiliters of like a bitter, and just add like some salt flakes or some saline solution, and just shake it up. And what the salt does is like it counters bitter, like it pulls against bitter flavors as much as sweet and sour do. Like there's like gonna be an internal battle between like what is happening in your mouth, like, because we all know like flavor is mostly in the nose, like flavor is like 80% what you perceive in your nose and 20% what's happening in your mouth. But if you're gonna play with that, you're gonna get like an entirely different perception of what is happening. So with the blood bitter as well, just if you have it, just pour a couple of centiliters in a glass, in a mixing tin. Add some salt flakes or some saline solution, and shake it up with ice really heavily, and pour it out, and see what kind of like flavor things happen.
It's basically the same concept that they're doing in food pairing with wine, for example. If you have like a really good steak, you put some salt flakes on the outside, and that makes it pair well with like the heavy red wines that have big tannins, big bitterness. because the salt goes well with that bitterness. That's basically the same thing you're doing here in a cocktail.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's a culinary thing, you know. Like it's finding those I'd say like complementary or opposing flavors.
Yep.
Just like try to push them against each other. It's the same with like an espresso. Like if you have like an espresso you really like, try adding some salt flakes or some saline solution.
Or bitter chocolate, pure chocolate with some salt flakes. Perfect.
Exactly. And you just shake espresso with some salt flakes and just strain it into a glass. It brings out an entirely different flavor profile from the bitter. It's really interesting to do.
And as Glenn says in the chat, salt is a flavor enhancer. So other flavors are being enhanced, but with bitterness, it kind of puts it more into balance with each other. So it gives it offers something new. So
it's something I advise to people who say like, oh, Negronis are too bitter for me. Like, you know, like I make like a saline solution and just add like 2 drops of it. Like you can play with the balance. I use a 5-to-1, but you can play with it a little bit and just add like 2 or 3 drops of it and just stir it up, and it really pulls down what people perceive as those less enjoyable bitter notes. And it brings out more of like the other flavors that are in the aperitivi, and you can work with it like that.
Yeah, and in the same way, you can find it in beers even too. If you know Gose beers, the German beer style, which is a salty beer style, they can use hops, which are usually more bitterness, but because of the saltiness, they balance out, and you get more fruitiness in the flavors. So it's interesting chemical discussion going on here.
I never heard that about bitterness. Yeah, that's nice.
We're all learning here.
Yes.
It's really cool. Like and that's like, even if you're playing with like whatever spirit you have, like that's the kind of stuff that makes it fun for me. You know, like this is what gets me excited. You know, you get like this. If you take a specific, like you take the Pear Liqueur, it's super sweet, and compared to the other products we had today, you can add some sour, and it's an easy mix. But with the aperitivo, a lot of people are like, it's like with witloaf, like with chicory, you know, it's super bitter. But like there are ways to counter that. You know, if you take like a salty cheese, and you add that to witloaf, I'm mouth watering here right now just thinking of it, you know.
So what I'm then thinking, Matthias, is you think of these concepts or ideas in your head, and probably Mikael, you do the same thing. How often does it go horribly wrong if you try it? Your ideas.
Every time.
Every time.
It takes time. It takes time to make a cocktail. Of course, you have to make error to find something beautiful. It's always like that. Yeah.
There's safe playing and there's experimenting. You know, like we all know. Like if you know the concept of like balance, but it's easy to make a good cocktail.
What is an idea that you have and that you haven't yet made work?
Oh boy!
But you still really want to make it work.
Oh boy!
For example, like kefir, for example, is something that I've been like looking into because my parents are big into like all that kind of stuff. They make their own wekpot, and I like.
Fermentation and stuff. Okay.
You know, it's both fermenting, but it's also like making like regular like pasta sauce that they're boiling it in pots instead of like freezing it and stuff like that. And like kefir is something that once in a while we do, and like I've always been looking at it like maybe in cocktails, but it pushes me, like it pushes on the surface of where I like playing and where I don't like playing with flavors. That's a personal one for me.
Mikael, do you have something like that?
Yeah, but I'm just gonna add something for Matthias. You should try to do some kefir goat cheese goat milk, fermentation, and then use it on a cocktail to clarify it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a milk punch style clarification.
Yeah, it works pretty well. It just takes you 24 hours actually. It's just something I had to say to him. Sorry. But if you're talking about the cocktails, because me and Matthias, we don't have the same experience, I would say, about that, because me, I've been working in bars, so I had to put up some menus actually to for people actually, which is not to denigrate your work, which is totally different, you know. I think, like you said, there is two kind of cocktails. You can make cocktails à la minute for customers that want something like, yeah, I would like a sour with that, you know, and you can make something good, I would say. That's not something that you're going to put on your menu. To work for a menu, to make one cocktail, it can take you months, actually. It's already been like that. I had one cocktail I made for the last menu I've been working on. It was a twist on a whiskey sour. Oh, no, sorry. It was a twist on a whiskey sour. And the idea was to make a whiskey sour without shaking it, but that still have texture, the mouthfeel and the velvety of the egg whites, but without shaking it, so being something stirring, and with foresty notes. And then I start to work with mushrooms. So I infuse the mushrooms in the whiskey. So the foresty note, I had it. And then for the acidity, I worked on some verjuice, which is gonna give some acidity and stuff. And then for the silky note and the velvety note, I found myself totally lost. So it took me months actually to find how I can recreate that thing actually. And I did it with some gum syrup and some salty mixture. I don't remember the name that you said before.
Saline solution.
Saline solution. Sorry, yeah, exactly. And so so you have to work on every part. And Matthias is working quite alone, I would say. So he can count only on himself. When you work in a bar, most of the time you're going to be with a team. And you're gonna have to please everybody in the team to be sure that you can sell it afterwards, you know. So it's always a teamwork, you know. So you have to work every time doing the same cocktail like 100 times actually, and every time you have some like it's good, but it's not enough, you know. And that phrase, I heard it so many times. It hurts you so much when you hear like it's good, but not enough. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna kill myself.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well,
myself.
Well, looking at the time, maybe I'll have to call this session almost to an end using that phrase. It was good, but it's not enough. And I'm gone again. Okay. Yep.
Especially, it's often like not really thought of. But if you're using a Genever, you cannot, for me personally, you cannot make it equal parts. Like the classic Negroni would be like equal parts gin, vermouth, bitter.
Unbalanced. Totally,
it is unbalanced. So that's why I give the Genever like a little bit more place to shine.
Okay.
I use like, for example, I do 40 mLs of Genever to 25 mLs of both the vermouth and the bitter. And depending on how it feels for you and which vermouth you're using, you could add a dash of orange bitters, whatever. Okay. But I find Genever to be a perfect base spirit for Negroni style drinks as well. It's something that I often ask in bars myself when I go there. It's aperitivo time. Like I go for like, can I get a Genever Negroni? If I see a bottle of Genever in the back bar, I find it to be a very pleasing product. I'm sure Jeroen also loves Genever.
I do love Genever, and I'll have more news on that later in a couple of weeks' time. But that's something completely different. Actually, guys, I had the perfect bridge just when I fell away earlier to basically end the session, and I'll go on to that because I think it's almost time to officially call an end to this. Mark's blog is already online. The link is in the chat, so if you want to read about his tasting notes, go over there. But the perfect bridge I had was that we've had a nice session again, and it was good, but it was not enough. So it's never enough with these sessions. So we can always talk longer about all these drinks, and we can always nerd out more. But we try to keep it on a Monday evening to like a reasonable hour.
Gosh,
so
it's still Monday. You're right.
it's still Monday. Yeah, sorry to remind you of that, Mikael. But I'm going to officially end the session. So if there's any last questions, this is the time. I'll start by thanking the two speakers for today. So Mikael, Matthias, thanks a lot for your very knowledgeable explanations and recipes and everything that we've heard. I'm sorry, guys, for my internet because this session was kind of jinxed, I think, with the lost sample sets and the internet. But hey, sometimes shit happens. But I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to the next one for Cinoco. Matthias, Mikael, do you have any last words to end it?
Honestly, I hope to work to speak a little bit more clearly next time, because I was quite nervous. It was my first time. Oh, shut up. But yeah, I hope to be a little bit more clear next time, actually, because sometimes I just lost my guideline, I would say. But it was really nice to do that with you guys. It was the first time and not the last, of course. And yeah, see you soon.
So
exactly.
Mark says it perfectly. As long as you swear like that, you'll fit right in, Mikael. So
sorry, what did you say? What did you
as
say?
long as you swear like that, you'll fit right in.
Yeah, I can do more. I can do more.
No. I'll end the recording first.
It goes for you too.
Yeah. You'll definitely see us together in future tastings.
Yay!
There we go. Cool, guys. So thanks a lot, everybody, for being here. Thanks a lot, everybody watching this afterwards. Thanks a lot, everybody involved. Cinoco, thanks a lot for organizing this, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
See you guys. Bye-bye.